All right, hello, and welcome to episode 111. So it's a palindrome, right? Is it front and
Yeah,
back, next same?
yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's a lot of episodes. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill, and I'll start us off today. So, the Alliance of American Football. So, when they took that investment money, whenever you take money, you're at the mercy of the person giving you the money.
Makes sense. It's
So
fair.
now the Hurricanes owner is saying if the NFLPA doesn't loan players to the AAF, that he's going to shut down the league next year. And anytime you have somebody saying, I'm going to shut down the league, whether you do it or you don't, you have just damaged the league.
Oh, without a doubt.
And so I'm thinking, I like Ebersol and Heinz Ward, Paul Mo. I like all the stuff they did. They definitely need quarterbacks in that league. But, you got to give it a chance. And this guy just to come out and say it. I mean, I could see why the NFLPA wouldn't want to loan players because they could ruin their career. But on the other hand, if you loan players that are borderline players and they perform well and they get bigger contracts, it's better for the NFLPA. So.
And I know obviously football is not like a TV show. I mean, it is and it isn't. But like, if I'm watching a show if a show I'm thinking about watching, and if I heard the network say, if it doesn't pick up in ratings, we're probably not going to be back next year.
Yeah,
probably not going to invest in that league. I'm not going to put my time into watching.
No, I'm probably going to shut. I'm going to probably shut it down right then on my own. I'll say, okay, if you're threatening now, I'm not going to get attached to it. I'll walk now.
Right. I'm not going to make this part of. And so it's like you're already telling me that. Like I said, the play itself has been a little, lackluster. Obviously, it's the quarterbacks. I sort of thought there would be a lot more smaller, the Kyler Murray type quarterbacks in that league.
Mm-hmm.
Find the exciting running hybrid quarterbacks that are, I know obviously Kyler Murray's 5'10", 210 pounds, but from two decades ago, the Charlie Ward, find the guys that, if they had slightly big, if they were a little bit bigger, a little stronger arm, but they're good quarterbacks. Because I think everybody else can kind of fill it around. But I mean, quarterback play obviously is just paramount. Like you have a good quarterback, you don't have a league. But
well, speaking about quarterbacks, did you see that Landry Jones signed with the Raiders?
I did. Congratulations, Landry Jones.
Yeah. Interesting, right?
When he was on the Steelers. But that was just because I just kept feeling like Landry Jones is what he is.
So what are you thinking? I mean, did you bring him in to push to Derek Carr? Or did you bring him in so the Antonio Brown will feel better? Why did you bring him in?
This is just speculation. But I think depending on how the draft shakes out, you brought him in as a bridge. I mean, Oakland has 3 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year,
mm-hmm.
I think a couple of second-round picks. People seem to love, as much as this is what the draft nicks are sort of saying, is that as much there's just almost too much smoke with Murray to Arizona. And that maybe they want to make a move for a young quarterback. And in doing so, they also want to get rid of Derek Carr, who, if we listened to John Gruden last year, is clearly not a Derek Carr guy. And Landry Jones is a nice veteran that can come in and be, a veteran presence. He's shown that he'll be a backup and be happy being a backup. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
No.
And I think when he's played, we thought last year when we were watching Nathan Peterman and the Dolphins fiasco.
Yeah,
most of those guys. It's like, how is Landry Jones not on a roster?
Right.
Like, he's not going to light the world on fire, but, especially Jacksonville was the one I thought. Because Jacksonville, if you run and do play action, Landry Jones could have worked in that offense. I think he could have worked really well. I was shocked he didn't go there. Or they had no interest in him.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So one of my business moments is Coach K is saying the NCAA is not prepared. They're eliminating one and done, but they have no thoughts as to leadership on what they're going to do next. So he's saying they need a new model with probably paid players. They need to control the AAU. But he's asking, how can college basketball remain an option for the most talented athletes with the G League coming on and paying salaries and one and done being gone? So what's the future of the NCAA? So he's throwing a lot of shade at Rich Emmert, which I would do too. But, I think that they're all just throwing it around there, thinking somebody's going to step up and figure out a problem, but nobody's cooperating, nobody's talking to each other, and nothing's happening.
No, it feels a lot like a lot of things in the world. I mean, I know this is the only example I can think of right off the top of my head is like Blockbuster Video. Like people warned Blockbuster for the longest time, like, look, digital is coming. You need to shift gear. You need to be focused. You need to do something different. And Blockbuster thought they were the only, we're making money. This is a great business. We're not going to change at all. And by the time they finally tried to adapt, they were too late. Yeah. And like Coach K is saying, with G League on the horizon, we've seen a couple players do the European thing now. We watched Luka Doncic this year. I think he's I know he's obviously a European player playing in Europe, but I think that door is open too to make a lot of money coming out.
No, it's interesting. We're gonna have to see what happens because the one thing on the G League, if a player wants exposure to the NBA,
yes,
is the G League going to be able to give him exposure? Or people, I know the team that would own the team that he would be playing for would, but is it entertaining? Is it viable TV? Are people going to watch it? Are people going to play it in fantasy leagues? Are people going to bet on it? I mean, where's the exposure? And so that's nobody knows. Nobody knows where that's going to be yet. So that's interesting how it's all going to come together. But you get the NBA, the NCAA, and the NBA/G League all need to really sit down and figure out where, in the AAU, figure out where this is going. Because it's a mess.
It is a mess. Now, I could see if there's a way, maybe, even if the NCAA doubles, like does some sort of deferred payment system for college players, or just find some way to compensate them.
It's just so much money you got to pay them. I mean, it's just they just need to earn. I mean, they need to earn. I would have got down last night with a torn ACL,
right,
in the Texas Tech game.
And it's not even earned for their playing. It's like you can't even, if the local car dealership is like, we like you so much, you're such a popular kid, come sign autographs for $5,000. Yeah. You lose your eligibility. You had the UCF kicker. I think it was the kicker. He had the promising YouTube career where he was making money off of his kicking. And they were like, you have to stop doing that. Or, and it's like, how are you taking away their opportunities to earn money?
Yeah, the world is
earning a ton and just being like, oh,
The world has changed. The NCAA hasn't changed.
No. But I think the people at the top are so greedy and they've seen what they've made over the years. They don't want, What do
they do with the money?
Yeah.
All right. Here's something we've never talked about. So I was looking at the NBA standings today. Because I'm in Dallas. They have a nice NBA section. Dallas actually has a great sports page in Dallas Morning News. So I'm looking at the NBA standings, right?
Right.
And they're all lined out by division. And I'm thinking to myself, when was the last time that we said winning your division meant anything?
In the NBA, never.
Never. And did you know that the Southeast Division, which is Miami, doesn't have a team with a winning record in the whole division?
Huh.
So why do you have divisions? Why don't you just have two conferences? Because that's what you have anyhow. It's a top 8 in each conference. You don't get in because you won your division.
No, and you don't get a higher seed because you don't get a bye because you won your division or anything else either.
So make it worse something or get rid of it. But I was sitting there looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'll pull it up right now. I mean, I'm sitting there looking, I'm saying, why do we have this? But there are the Southwest, Northwest, and Pacific divisions in the West, the Atlantic, Southeast, and Central in the Eastern. And so your leaders right now are Houston, Denver, Golden State, Toronto, Miami, and Milwaukee. Those are your division leaders. I don't know. Crazy to me.
I know the East versus West, the conference thing makes a lot of sense. What do you think about the people that think you should just seed the playoffs based on record, conference excluded?
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with that. It should be the 16 best teams.
Right. And that the first team is playing the 16th best, and all, regardless of conference or, because again, it's not like baseball. I mean, when baseball had, before interleague play, even with interleague play, like, you're playing the teams in your conference. Where the NBA, you're playing everybody.
Yeah.
A lot. So it doesn't really feel like there's any sort of need to have divisions or even conferences at this point.
No, I just thought that was wild. I hadn't thought about it. And I'm looking at the paper. I'm thinking, why do we have this?
I don't know.
So then I'm thinking about who's the most interesting team entering the NBA playoffs. And is it Denver? Is it Utah? Is it Indiana? Who is it? Is it Boston? Is it, it's just who's the most interesting story? I mean, Portland's got a really good record, but they're on an interesting story.
And they just lost, they lost the big fella with that devastating knee injury or leg injury. It was just gross. He might not play next year.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It is a shame. I mean, Portland's like, I like Lillard, I like McCollum. That's a great city, but they feel like they've been stuck in the same gear for basically a decade now, where they're a very good team, but nobody really feels like they can even, they could probably go to a conference final, let alone a finals and win it.
Yeah.
They're sort of treading water. I would say just based on how much talent they have and where they were last year and how much chaos they have this year, Boston is probably the most intriguing team in the playoffs. Because that's the one team I could see going to the finals and winning it because they have enough talent to do so. And I could also see them getting knocked out in the first round and, Kyrie leaving and all sorts of horrible stuff coming out of that locker room. Like, I feel like they're the biggest boom bust team in the league.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand them. I mean, I really thought they were going to be a dominant team in the East.
Well, I mean, like they almost made the finals last year. They took LeBron to 6 games without Kyrie Irving, without Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, and they're worse this year.
And they're way worse this year. And, Tatum does not look like, Tatum last year was like future all-star. We're never trading him. To now, it's like if you're the Pelicans, you're like, he's not enough to build a package around all in 1 year. I mean, potentially, at least, maybe they see something else in him and some other reasons. Kyrie comes out with some quote every other week about, unhappiness and sadness and all those other things. And then Gordon Hayward still isn't quite Gordon Hayward, but he's showing flashes.
He showed flashes, but maybe it's a long layoff. I understand that. It takes a while to get everything back. We'll have to see where it goes.
Hopefully that's just for him. It's just a 2-year injury that he's just taking a little bit longer to come back for and feel comfortable. But again, you got a lot of guys that want playing time on that team, and a team that just, again, Brad Stevens went from, next Popovich genius coach to,
yeah,
real quick.
So the Lakers have shut down LeBron. Big deal? No big deal.
Well, Space Jam 2's got to start filming soon, so.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's been a jam all year.
Well, I mean, if you're the Lakers and you can, whether he's as hurt as he is or not, you need to get the highest pick you possibly can, whether that's to trade for a superstar or draft the best available player. And having LeBron on your team isn't helping you lose.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that team is in a lot of chaos because you did read the Jerry West story?
No, I did not.
Basically, the Lakers, with the Zubic, that 7-foot European that starts for the Clippers, they didn't call the Lakers about him. The Lakers called him and just wanted to get an extra roster spot and basically gave him away to the Clippers. And Jerry West they said he was just laughing. Like you basically gave us this talented player for trash.
For nothing.
For nothing. And what are you doing with that? You did nothing with the roster spot. And it didn't seem like you had, then you got to wonder because all the stories coming out of New Orleans where I'm from seem to indicate that, the Lakers could make all the offers. They weren't getting Anthony Davis this year, not maybe ever from the Pelicans.
No.
But it seemed like maybe the Lakers weren't reading the tea leaves and thought they had a shot, which is why they were opening up roster spots. And, and then the other interesting Lakers story back to LeBron is LeBron, fantasy secret GM. You saw what happened when they asked him about the Lakers roster this year, right?
Yeah.
He made like one of these goofy, and it's like, you said you wanted tough guys. All the people that got signed, whether it was, Rondo and Lance Stevenson and, letting Lopez go and bringing in McGee, like those are your guys, aren't they?
Yeah, those are his guys. I mean, those were his guys in Cleveland too.
Yeah, those are his guys. And like, it seems like he's sort of like, I didn't want these guys. I didn't pick them. I didn't put this roster together. And it's like,
yeah, you did.
It's like, it seems like you did.
Yeah, you did. You started making the moves to clear the space for next year, and these were the guys you wanted to play with.
But the other thing I would say about LeBron, as he's being shut down, this is the first year that I can remember that he's looked like a human from time to time playing basketball.
Yeah, he's got a lot of wear and tear on him.
He does. He's past the odometer is way past. You're not getting any value for him. And I just think about, and again, I don't know if he was just mentally removed from the game at this point and so frustrated with the season. And I know people point to the fact that he averaged like 29, 7, and 8, which is.
But on that roster, somebody had to.
Somebody had to. But I mean, when Kyle Kuzma is pushing you in to close out on a defender and you're not even doing that. And, he obviously was a little banged up this year. And you got to wonder, 35, 36 years old with, 8, 9 finals appearances, like, how much does he actually have left? And if you're the Lakers, what do you do next year? Do you want the LeBron, Jimmy Butler combo?
No, I'd be willing to bet LeBron does not make it back to an NBA final.
I think that's a good bet.
I think so. I think it's, I think it's sad. I think it's unfortunate, but I think it's probably true.
Yeah. And another sad but true stories for our podcast. It seems like the Paul George shoulder injury is pretty real. And Oklahoma City has played terrible over the last 20 games.
Yeah.
And it sounds like from what people have said, the little rumors behind the scenes is that Paul George is getting treatment on his shoulder before every single game. And he clearly doesn't look like the fringe MVP candidate he was for 3/4 of the season.
No, he's definitely suffering from something.
And that's really sad to see because Oklahoma City looked like a fringe contender, but at the very least somebody that could scare Golden State and at least make to the Western Conference Finals. And now they look like they get done.
They're looking like a number 7.
Right. Who could lose to Houston?
Number 3 or number 4. They look like a 7.
Yeah.
Or even an 8.
It's pretty sad.
It is.
Well, I guess while we're here, do we feel like Houston is now the biggest contender in the West that could go against Golden State?
I think Houston, I think Denver, if Denver gets home court advantage. Because playing at that altitude is hard. And I like the way Denver plays. Denver plays a team game. And there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of big guys, a lot of integration, a lot of team involvement. I like the way Denver plays.
It's very true.
I don't like Portland. I don't like Utah. The Clippers are even playing really, really well.
Yeah, the Clippers are like a spunky team of, they're still a couple players away, I think, or a couple,
Yeah, but I for sure didn't see this coming.
No,
they're playing better than I thought they'd play.
I mean, even when they got rid of Tobias Harris, that was like are they throwing in the towel or
Yeah, I mean they made some trades, got rid of some guys, and all of a sudden, better chemistry, better living. I don't know, playing well.
And Gallinari, who is a borderline all-star when he's healthy, has been really good this year and unsurprisingly healthy. Or surprisingly, I suppose.
It's interesting. He plays better with the right pieces around him.
Yes.
It's like he has to have people that can complement him better than some of the teams that he's been on.
Right.
He's a solid role player. He's like a Marco Bellinini. He's a solid role player. He can be a star on certain nights, but you can't expect him to be a star every night.
No. He should have been a career-long Spur. I don't know how that didn't happen. That would have been an ideal spot for him. Or if he could have ever been around healthy young LeBron, I think would have been a nice fit for him too.
Yeah.
So as of right now, despite that, I thought it was a sort of BS call on KD to lose to the Timberwolves. Do we still think the Warriors are coming out of the West?
I'm going to say yes, but it's like a 51-49 for me. It's not like, it would be like, UConn in the women's bracket right now being a 2 seed, coming out, fighting, grinding it out against a lot of teams, not dominating anybody. I think it'd be very similar to that.
I think that's very true.
They got a lot of talent, but they're going to have to fight and scrap and really, really work at it to get there. It's a lot different than it's been.
And I think as last night proved, and as we've seen all year, like Houston seems to be the benefit of. I don't know if they just love Daryl Morey teams, but I feel like if there's a questionable call, it's going Houston's way. So if Houston gets a couple of the right calls against Golden State, I think it could be a real tough matchup for them.
Yeah.
And again, I fully recognize how great Harden is, but I feel like people need to talk about how much he carries, travels, and flops. Like it's like watching a guy like, back, what was it, like 10, 15 years ago when they had and one basketball? And it was basketball, but not really basketball. Like you could carry, you could almost double dribble. You'd always get an extra step or two. And when you can do those things, it's a lot easier to get open.
Yeah. You know what? I guess all you can say is that he takes advantages of the rules the way they are right now.
So he is the Patriots of the NBA.
That's what I would have to say.
Without the title. Yeah. I guess, and this is, I guess, old man on the block, your old man staring and yelling at the sun kind of thing, but I don't like this evolution of the game.
I don't either. I don't like the Euro step. I don't like a lot of this stuff.
No,
I was watching the NCAA this week, and I mean, palming is not even. It's ridiculous. I mean, I couldn't play. I mean, I was not good under the real rules. I could be much better now under these rules because all the things that I did, I could do now.
Right, which is just again, we don't need. Like I said, I don't. That's my old man staring at the screaming at the sun moment, but it's kind of a bummer. And speaking of pseudo bummers, the tournament. I know there's been some really good games, and that kid from Purdue put on just a hell of a performance and lost the other night. But it's hard not to look at the team and just unbelievable. Do you hear when he called bank on that three that he banked in? Like he was just unbelievable.
He was on fire.
And that's the kind of I don't feel like we've had enough of those moments or players this year in the tournament. Like Moran, obviously, he's had a great tournament. And Moran obviously had that great first game, but I feel like everybody else has been kind of
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky's beating Auburn now.
Right.
We're close to the end of the first half. And they've already beat Auburn twice already this year, so if they win for a third time, it's not really surprising.
No.
But you would expect a little bit more out of Auburn after you saw them play against North Carolina.
I mean, they beat North Carolina by 20. Or not 17, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're, I feel everybody's bracket's got to be busted right now. I forgot to look it up and see if anybody had a perfect bracket.
No, everybody's bracket is busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the brackets are busted. And if you have Virginia versus Kentucky, Texas Tech, and let's say Michigan State knocks off Duke, you don't really have any. I guess Kentucky's your one like traditional basketball school left. And then you don't have a Zion or a Morant or
Yeah. Yeah, and Texas Tech is real interesting.
They really are.
They really are. I think they're problematic because they play different than everybody else that's left. So
yes,
if you want to get one shot, you better watch a lot of film between now and then.
And
I think they're
I know we discussed this in real life, but if you're Gonzaga, right? You had a great season, you got a 1 seed, and you made it to the Elite Eight. Just like North Carolina did. Is that a success? Do you feel like that's a successful year?
I do, but I know they don't.
Right.
I mean, those two teams that you mentioned, North Carolina and Gonzaga, those two teams looked as devastated as any teams I've ever seen after they lost. Devastated. I mean, just devastated. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about watching the women's tournament is, they're upset that they lost. They're not devastated. They can still smile and have a conversation. They're just not devastated. But I think North Carolina and Gonzaga had already checked their boxes for Minneapolis.
I think
they just didn't get there.
But again, like, it's a one and done tournament, and you made it out of the 60. We'll call it 68 teams, even though it's really feel like 64. But you made it to the Elite Eight, which is, you got your Sweet 16 banner, you got your Elite Eight banner.
Yep.
The number 1 seed, you've had a great season, but if you win one more game and you're in the Final Four, is that become successful, or do you need to win it all if you're those two teams to really feel like,
I think if you're North Carolina, you need to win it all because that's the expectation. And Gonzaga's been to the Final Four now a few times, so that would be their expectation too.
right?
I think Texas Tech, anywhere where this season stops, they've had a successful season.
Yeah.
They would acknowledge they had a successful season.
And I think after that terrible one, losing in the first round last year,
Yeah.
16, I think now that they're in the Final Four, I think that's a pretty successful season, especially because they had the big scare in round one of almost losing again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I was at that game. Gardner-Webb made him look bad.
Yeah. I'm honestly, after watching that game, I'm shocked we're watching them in the Final Four right now with a chance to go on to win a national title. I did not think they had a shot.
I wasn't sold on any of it. I was sold on North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, but I was sold on North Carolina. I thought North Carolina I thought they were going to advance. That was going to be it. I didn't see any problems there. Gonzaga, I saw that game against St. Mary's, and I knew if somebody played them really tough D, they were going to have a problem, and that's what happened.
And, as people have pointed out, this is the first time ever once again, I can't believe I'm rooting for Duke.
Wow.
Ion fever. I do,
Yeah.
He does seem like a generational talent. Like, I want to keep watching him play.
He does.
He's all I have left in the tournament to root for is him.
I'm going to root for Texas Tech now. They had this devastating injury. I don't think they can win, but I'm going to root for him.
Zion is just, he's so much fun. It seems like, and again, this is one of those tricky things to talk about because you don't know what's in somebody's head just because their face doesn't look the way you want it to look, or they don't. But he looks like he cares so much about playing and just so passionate about the game. Like, and with his physical ability and size and everything else, like he's my guy. I like him.
And he shoots 3-pointers like he's been doing them his whole life.
I know. And all of a sudden I find, like I said, I should still hate.
He looks really good.
But somehow I'm rooting for Duke.
All right, I'm going to give you a feel good, feel bad story. All right.
All right.
Tampa Bay Rays, I think, are really going to be special this year with the lowest payroll. But what's going to make them special is that trade for Chris Archer last year, because Glasnow gave up one run and a couple hits and won his game yesterday. And Austin Meadows already hit 2 home runs in 3 games. And they're going to beat the Astros 2 out of 3. And the Astros are a pretty good team.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing something there with the Rays. And, I'm going to have to make an effort to go watch the Rays a few times this year. It's not an easy place to get to if you live in Tampa, but I'm going to go because I think they're going to be a good story. I don't know if they're enough of a story for people to start following them, but I think they're going to be good. They're going to be amazingly good given their payroll.
I know. And based on that trade, I'm also nervous about the 6'10" pitcher the Pirates just gave away for cash to them.
Well,
cash considerations. Like, I know he was a throw in another trade, and it's not like he's looked great. But, there's certain teams, the Rays seem like they're. What's that?
And Christian Yelich is homered in all 4 of his first games.
Yeah.
And I think that's a record. I think the record was 3, and I think he tied the record with Willie Mays and a number of other people. I think 4 is his record now.
And we did get to watch home runs. We saw Bryce Harper hit his first home run as a Philly.
Yes.
And celebrate.
Which will probably take a load off of his mind.
I think big time.
Relax.
Load off. Yes. I think that's great for him.
So yesterday I came down and drove down to Fort Worth and went to Dutch's Hamburgers.
Okay. Love me a good burger.
Yeah, and you know what? I overdid it. I got the burger called the Lineman.
Okay.
Which was a double beef patty.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good, but it was way too much. And I couldn't finish it. But it was good.
Okay.
Very good burger. But just, it was like, I think it was about 3/4 of a pound.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was too much. But they have great fries and great onion rings. and your mother had nachos with chili and chicken on them, and she said those were amazing. Everybody was there, thought it was phenomenal. And I thought the place had been around for a bazillion years because they had all these old game programs from TCU in like the 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
But then we looked it up. It's only been there since 2007.
Oh, okay.
But it had a real old school feel to it. And they did there was another hamburger place there before they were there. But it was really, really good. And I was hoping I was going to take Mom to Babe's Chicken Dinner House last night. But we were too full from lunch. We couldn't even go.
Oh, that's.
But Babe's Chicken Dinner House has chicken fried steak and fried chicken, and it's outstanding.
That sounds delicious.
There's one in Frisco, Texas. So I'm bummed I'm not going to get to go on this trip. But it's almost like worth making a trip to come back to go eat.
Wow, that is high praise, as Nicolas Cage would say.
I know.
Well, I have
it's been good.
Food moments then. First, I have to give it. I think I've shouted them out before, but Bayou Hot Wings down here, outstanding. Adam Richman's got his picture on the wall. He's been there a bunch of times. The best wings in New Orleans, he says. And it's not just that their food is. I mean, they use fresh chicken, absolutely delicious. But they have amazing service, and they'll bend over backwards to get wherever you want. Like, if I like my fries a little bit extra crispy, they do it every single time. They know my order now. They're fantastic people. So that's that one.
Breaded wings or not breaded wings?
The wings you can get breaded or not breaded. Then I've been getting their boneless ones lately. It's a big giant tender. It's a fresh thing. You watch them cut up the chicken in the back. Fresh, not frozen.
Okay.
Hand breaded. Delicious.
We like that.
And the other food moment is actually a TV moment, but it's about cannibalism. And season 3 of the Santa Clara Diet with our boy Timothy Olyphant just dropped, and it was an outstanding season again. So people should watch the Santa Clara Diet if they have Netflix. And if you're a Timothy Olyphant fan, it's kind of fun to watch him in a complete comedy role because he's excellent at comedy. Like, he plays sort of a doting, almost goofy dad. Which, if you've watched him in, Justified or obviously Deadwood, very different Timothy Olyphant. But I just find him to be delightful. So,
okay.
But it is about cannibalism.
Yeah, I would never use the word doting dad.
What's that?
I said I think I used the word doting dad to describe Timothy Olyphant in the story.
You wouldn't think so, but he's excellent at it, and he does it in a way where you're so rooting for him and you really like him. And you get to watch Drew Barrymore eat people. So. That's why it's a pseudo food / TV moment.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
Yes. And I think that's about it today. We've already gone over a quick 30 minutes. I guess we should probably say who do we think
I'm going to continue watching the women's Final Four as opposed to the men's Final Four.
So who do you got in both those Final Fours?
I'm watching this Oregon team right now. It's very, very interesting to me. They get some good shooters, and they're playing Mississippi State. They're 2, Mississippi State's 1. They're up 6 in the third quarter, and I just like the way they play.
Okay,
but I think they could get out physical. Although Mississippi State has a big center, and she is not dominating like I thought she would dominate. And then I don't know what it is. I'm going to root for UConn because they weren't number 1. They struggled. They're like grinders now. Instead of just going in and kicking everybody's ass, they're having to grind it. And I'm admiring that kind of performance where everybody's excited to be able to beat them and, see what they can do.
That's nice. Very nice.
Yeah. And Notre Dame's got the one player that's the most exciting player in the tournament that keeps making these shots. So we'll see where it goes.
And on the men's side, who do you got?
I said North Carolina would win. Then when they lost, I said I'd root for Gonzaga, and I said I'd root for Texas Tech. Whoever I pick is doomed.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
So in trying to help the teams that are left, I will root for Texas Tech, but I'm not going to pick anybody because I don't want to doom anybody. And I'm rooting for Texas Tech just because I feel really, really bad that guy blew out his ACL on that play. Oh,
yeah, I was
sick.
Absolutely horrible. Well, I think Zion's just a magical player. I think he's going to lead Duke to the national championship. And Coach K will get yet another one. And, but again, Duke has almost become like where I don't even care anymore.
let's wait and do the show then on Tuesday night next week after the Final Four.
Okay.
So we can discuss the Final Four.
I guess sounds great.
Okay.
We'll do a little NBA or NFL draft preview and NBA draft, both of them coming up. So
yeah, I sure did like the kid from Purdue.
He was fun to watch. So I guess, again, rate us on iTunes. Join us on Patreon. Become a family member. Great thank you to all our Patreon supporters that continue to support us and listeners. And as we keep asking from time to time, if you're one of our Patreon supporters and you want to come on the show or at least want to get some questions answered, just tweet at my dad.
That's it. Please do that.
Or email, whatever, however you want to contact us. So until next week, adios.